Hello and welcome back to the 4th episode of Gaming Reversal. This is a podcast meant to bring you some of the greatest and most horrible gems of video game history to light. I'm your host, Stephen Vecchiarelli, and this week we are covering the biggest gaming conference of the year, the Fortnite Celebrity Pro-Am. I'm just kidding. It's actually E3. We had conferences from Bethesda, Ubisoft, EA, Microsoft, Sony, Nintendo, Square Enix, and then we also had some from Devolver and PC. There was just like a PC one mixed in there, but we won't really be talking about either of those two. But for the most part, we'll be talking about some of the blockbusters that have come into play, some big things from every game company. So I have a list probably of about 30 games, and I'm going to go through every single one. Some of you might not want me to, list every single game right now, so I'm not going to do that. But if you want to just, tune into a certain game and hear me talk about it, I'll put timestamps in any YouTube or Google Play or iTunes description. Let's get started. The first game I have on my list is from Sony and Sucker Punch, called Ghost of Tsushima. It looks very it's got like a dueling system like For Honor. You're in I'm gonna sound uncultured. You're in like a Mongolian China era environment, and it looks like you're a samurai and you're going in to infiltrate and take down some empire. It looks really vivid. Like there's a lot of reds in the trailer, like between all the cherry blossoms and the trees, and you have this one duel between the main character and who's supposed to be his friend that betrays him. And then like it's showing the gameplay and it's showing the sword mechanics, and I'd like to think that that's how the game's gonna play, where like you're fluidly cutting someone and then dashing and getting behind them and then, overtaking them and stuff like that. I'd like to think that the sword mechanics and the sword play is going to be like that, but that's a little far-fetched. I don't know. We'll see it when it comes out. I'm going to be trying to include release dates and if there was gameplay or not in every single one of these games I talk about. For this one, there was obviously gameplay because I'm talking about the sword play and all that, but there was no release date, and I've tried looking around. I don't see any release date. If they're showing gameplay, I wouldn't doubt it if it's out by 2019, like mid-2019, late 2019, but who knows what they're adding to this game. It literally was like him grappling onto some kind of temple, fighting some guys, and then fighting his friend, and then the whole army shows up, and for some reason he doesn't kill his friend, even though she betrayed him, and yeah, it was a little confusing, but it's a new IP, and it's from Sucker Punch, so they made Infamous. They have my vote. Yeah, so the next game, I won't talk about it very much because I don't know anything about it because I'm not a fighting game person. Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. It was made by Nintendo, or it's going to be made by Nintendo. It's coming out in December. It showed gameplay, showed a full roster. They had like 26 minutes that I just watched of them talking about it and talking all the, just the whole entire style of the game and all that. And on top of that, they have support for GameCube controllers coming out, which is a big deal in the Smash scene since, everyone uses a GameCube controller. And they have Squirtle, they have Ivysaur, they have added a bunch of Pokemon, they have Mewtwo, Ice Climbers are in it, all the typical Smash Bros. Characters. It looks like there were some additions that I don't really care about, like the Splatoon characters and stuff like that. But I'll get it. I always try and say I'd like to be good at Smash Brothers one day, but I just don't have the patience. But I'll still get it because I have friends and friends will play it, and then it's one of those games that you get and it's a party game because you all play it and then you have fun, and yeah. That's coming out in December, and it showed gameplay and it looks good. This one I put in here as to give some context. I am a huge Halo fan. I made a shirt in 2007 when the game was coming out. I took a white shirt and I wrote like Halo 3 finished the fight, and I wore it to school, and I got made fun of by like people on my bus, and like people were like, oh, look at the nerd with his shirt. And I'm not damaged by it, even though I still remember it 11 years later, because it was like 3 days before my birthday that I wore this shirt, and then I got Halo for my birthday, and I got the special Xbox and all that. So I'm a big Halo fanboy. There's a problem, at least from my perspective, with this trailer. Like, they released Halo 5 in 2015. I know the multiplayer is pretty much like fallen out of favor. Like, Ninja abandoned it a while ago, even though he was their biggest player. A lot of just people in general, they were like, we were asking for changes and we never received any changes. Honestly, I played the story for Halo 5. I didn't enjoy it very much. You're playing as Locke, and you're playing as the characters behind it. That might be a game I review in the future on the podcast. I don't know. It's not incredible. So Halo Infinite, they're showing no gameplay. They're showing like an environment. They're showing some deer, like a buff deer. They're showing some rhinos for some reason, and then you're looking and you're like, oh, there's like some burnt out, like looking like circle things. Like, oh, that's interesting. And then you see a bunch of soldiers, and you're like, wait, that looks like ODST armor, kinda, but it also looks like the Halo Marine armor. And then it zooms out, and then you see Master Chief holding his helmet, and it looks like the Halo 3 helmet. Like, it looks like the mix between the Halo 3 and Halo 4 helmet, which was cool at least. And then just like cuts while it's like zoomed in on his visor. And then it says Halo Infinite, developed on the Slip Space engine and all this stuff. The world they were on reminded me of Halo 1 because it showed the structures and the towers that were shooting into the sky. They were shooting like this blue light. And I remember that from the first Halo. I don't remember what the point of it was. It might have been generators or something like that. Some Halo nerd could probably tell me more, but I mean, I'm a nerd, but I'm not that level. Yeah, it annoyed me. This is where I'm getting into the annoying part, because it's been 3 years since they released Halo 5. There's been no mention of any game. They like shut down Halo Online. Well, not them, but Microsoft got annoyed with Halo Online and the whole situation that happened with that. People have been begging for Halo on PC forever, which this says it will be on Windows 10. So at least there's that. But you're not going to show gameplay. You're not going to show any type of story or anything like that. You're just showing Master Chief in possibly a prequel environment, looking at like the way the ring was set up, and the way his helmet did look like Halo 3's helmet. Granted, he pretty much had that same helmet all the way through Halo 4, if I remember, and then in the Halo 5, but still. And it's been 3 years. So the only delay I could think of is that the new engine, the Slip Space engine, could be one of the major points that held them back. And in that case, good for them. It is very difficult to develop an engine, especially from scratch, because I think they've been using the same engine for all the Halo games recently. And they've just been like modifying it to, acclimate for a new Halo game. And it's not, I don't know. So making a new game or making a new engine is daunting for them, but if that's what held them back, I don't know. I'm just it took way too long in between games, and there was no communication, and now they're releasing it, and then, some Halo fans are in my boat from what I've been seeing, but some are also in the, well, at least we're getting something boat. But looking at it, I'm like, all they showed was this pre-rendered trailer. No, it's not like the environments were being generated or anything. They made a trailer for E3. They showed no gameplay. They showed nothing. They showed Master Chief, no story, whatever. Zoomed out, saw his visor, called it a day. And that's where I'm like, I'm kind of annoyed by it. So regardless, that's a separate issue. But, we'll see when E3 next year if there's ever anything related to it, but I doubt it. I wouldn't doubt it if this game doesn't come out until like 2020. So on to Rage 2. This game's from Bethesda. It's made by id Software. It was what they opened with. They've been promoting it a little bit. I don't like the look of it. It reminds me a lot of Borderlands 2, where it's like, yeah, we're going to be vulgar, and it's a desert planet, and it's post-apocalyptic, and, it's messing everything up. And they brought out Andrew WK to sing, like, some Get Ready to Die song or something like that, and he's, like, trying to get a bunch of crowd of, ugly, overweight nerds and reporters to get up and, cheer with them. And you're looking at the crowd and they're just like looking at him like who is this guy? It was definitely not the environment. And then like you look, they bring this really short guy from id Software and then this really tall guy from Avalanche Studios in Sweden out, and he's like, yeah, and like you could tell he was super nervous with the situation. I mean, I don't know. It's coming out in spring. And they're trying, like, Bethesda is making it the opener for their series, but like, was anyone really asking for this game? Because Rage 1 didn't do very well. I remember it being like the front of Game Informer and stuff, and I was like, I played Borderlands, like, I already got this. And then from what I heard, the vehicles weren't very good, and that was like a part of the gameplay. And then it's showing it in the trailer here, like it showed gameplay, it's coming out in spring, but like I don't know, it felt weird. It's a weird environment to bring to a nerdy convention like E3 with Andrew WK. That just put me off so much. Like, it's opening your thing and you're like, you think it's gonna get people hyped up, but it's not gonna do it. And is there anything really riveting about the story? No. You could play the first one and you could see if you liked it, but I don't know. That should be a game I revisit, because I bet you $1 million I can get it for like $2. Well, on a session, they only showed like a trailer, short, like maybe a minute and a half of this guy skateboarding, and I was like excited. I was like, oh my god, it's Skate 4. I've been asking for this game for so long, because they haven't done a legitimate skating game since, I won't count Skate 3. Skate 3 was garbage. Since Skate 2, which was 2009. And Skate 2 had the whole, like, you can get off your board and you can move the environment, and, you have the skill stick system where you do tricks based on what your finger input is and all that stuff. So it has the same, it's not Skate, obviously. It's not Skate 4. I think EA has the rights to Skate 4 and doesn't want to do it for some reason. Maybe they think it's going to fail, which, why should they think that will fail when they've been trying to keep other franchises afloat? It's made by a company called Creature Studios. I think there was a Kickstarter for it. They're releasing like some early access versions, and then the full version should be out in 2019. I mean, I'm going to play it because I've been waiting for a good skateboarding game for a long time, like I said. So since 2009, it's been 10 years. Like Tony Hawk, they remade Tony Hawk, the original Tony Hawk, and like put some stuff in it. I didn't like that. They made Tony Hawk, was Downhill Jam one of them? That might have been another one. I'm not counting that. Tony Hawk Pro Skater 5 I heard was absolute garbage, and I don't know, that game's just going to make me feel old. So I'm just, this game looks promising, but they showed no gameplay. The release date's 2019. We'll see when, the open gameplay comes out for like the Kickstarter stuff. But I mean, also a cool thing is that they said that there will be a filmer mode whenever you're not on your board, so you can make like videos and you can make montages or clips or whatever. So that's kind of cool. That's something that's big in the skating world. But yeah, I'm excited. So on a Doom Eternal, that's another game that didn't show any gameplay, didn't show any release date or anything. It shows a teaser, it's zooming out, and you're like, oh, is this Wolfenstein? Because, one of my friends mentioned that they're in the same universe technically, and the monsters looked weird and all this stuff. Then you look and you're like, oh, this is definitely Doom. It looks like they're on Earth. Lots and lots and lots of monsters. It zooms in on a demon skull, and you're like, oh, it's Doom. Who would have thought? And then it shows Doom guy like cocking his gun, and then Doom Eternal. It's Doom. If you played the first one, you'll enjoy it. I like Doom. It's just fast-paced. It's a first-person shooter. It's meant to be in your face. It's meant to be this whole, like, brutal for the sake of brutality type of style. I can't see this game coming out anytime soon. I think they said they're going to release something for it at QuakeCon in August, but that's no certainty. I mean, I'll play it, but what am I supposed to go off of in that situation? It showed what could have honestly been the first Doom, but DLC, because it was just a trailer of him like standing there and looking at demons. Wow, it's a Doom game like the other one. Let's see. Next is Just Cause 4. So Just Cause 3, I think, was released in, I'd say 2012, 2011. Just Cause 3, I feel like, was released forever ago. It's always been like an open world. You have a grappling gun on your arm. It's kind of like Spider-Man, where you're able to grab stuff, but like they also tout for this like open world experience where you can like attach like a fuel canister to a helicopter and then shoot it when the helicopter flies away and then rain fire on everything. Or you can attach a car to a pole, or you could do all this stuff, and you could jetpack, or not jetpack, but wingsuit everywhere, kind of like fly and all that. But this game, they're touting, it felt like they were just showing like big world, different vehicles, and then the main thing is that like there's going to be like hardcore weather. Like it showed him like jumping into a tornado, which is awesome and terrifying, but it's coming out in December. It's going to be like, once I get like a legitimate gameplay trailer, I don't know how I feel, but I feel like with Just Cause, you're going to play the same way you played Just Cause 3, because no one else had a problem with it. Just Cause 3 did really well. It's still, I think people still play it and mod it and do all that stuff now. And this is from Square Enix, by the way. I think they showed it in the Microsoft trailer first, but regardless, yeah, it should be a ton of fun. It's one of those open world games that you just mess around in and do a whole bunch of stuff. And if you want Just Cause 3, I bet you anything it's like $10. So, yeah. Next is, I'm going to pronounce this wrong. Is it Sekiro or Sekiro? Shadows Die Twice. From Software teased this back in December. It was literally just a trailer of like, it looked like people were like, it's Bloodborne 2. Oh, it's so awesome. And I was excited. I was like, I love Bloodborne. Like, but it looks like a samurai version of Dark Souls, where you're like going through, it looks a little more fantasy based. Like Dark Souls is, not hellish, but like there's the whole Demons of Blighttown, and Dark Souls 3 focused on like the purging of or not the purging of the fire, but the end of fire, and then all that stuff. Like this looked a lot different from that. It looks like it's still an action RPG, or I don't even know if it would be considered an action RPG, but it looks like it's still like it, but it looks maybe more fast than Dark Souls. I wasn't seeing the punishing part of Dark Souls, where like Dark Souls is like prepare to die edition. You expect to die. So who knows if it's like an easier experience, or if it's like a Ninja Gaiden where it's still difficult, but it's focusing more on that kind of stuff. For all we know, it could just be a new Dark Souls-esque IP, the same way Bloodborne was. Who knows? That's coming out in 2019, like I said. It was revealed on Microsoft's panel, but I wouldn't doubt it if this thing's on PC, Xbox, and PS4. With Dark Souls Remastered coming to Switch, it could also come to Switch later, but who knows in that situation. From Software can do whatever they want. People are going to buy their games because they worship them. So, this is one that bothered me a little bit, more than a little bit. This and another game from this company that I've already mentioned bothered me a lot. So, The Elder Scrolls 6 didn't show any gameplay, didn't show a lick of anything. It literally was an overview of an environment. You could convince me that it was World of Warcraft rendered in like the Unreal Engine or something, and I'd be like, oh, that makes sense. It looks like Stormwind Castle. It literally just shows a castle, a coastline, and then it says The Elder Scrolls 6. And it was thrown at the end of the trailer, or at the end of the conference with Bethesda and Todd Howard there and all that. And after making fun of, like, it was funny that they made fun of how Skyrim's being released on every console. They had Key come out. He was talking about very special edition of Skyrim where you could play it on Alexa and you play like a Dungeons and Dragons mode, which I think would sell like hotcakes because people would play that just for the sake of memes and all that. But and then it showed him like playing it on like a smart fridge or like playing it on an Etch-a-Sketch and stuff. It was funny. But Elder Scrolls 6, it wasn't anything. It was literally just a zoom out of an environment and that's it. Like, and people are like, it's so great. Oh my God. I'm like, nope, I don't see anything here. There's no, this game literally will not be released. I'm making a bet on this podcast now. It will not be released until 2020 at the earliest. And I won't even say early 2020. I will say like October of 2020 is when this game would be released. Maybe November of 2020 at the earliest. If not, it would be pushed into 2021. I wouldn't doubt it if the next consoles are out, or at least ready to come out, like with a defined release date when this thing finally releases. And obviously, Elder Scrolls fanboys are gonna talk about it to no end, so who cares? But will they even have gameplay next year? No, I bet you anything it'll be a trailer like this one, but it'll actually show like what an enemy's gonna be or what this is gonna be or anything like that. It's been 7 years since Skyrim, but I don't know, like this is just to satisfy the Elder Scrolls fanboys, and people are like, Bethesda's so great. You're gonna be playing this thing when you're like another 5 years older. Are you even gonna feel the same way about it? I don't know. I'm just bitter because they put it in there literally just to be there. Like that was made in 10 seconds. So on to Gears of War 5. Gears of War had a weird situation. They announced a mobile game. They announced a Funko Pop game, which was like, why? Like it showed like a symbol, and like people were so excited because of Gears, and then it cuts through, and it's a Funko Pop Marcus Phoenix, and you're like, okay, all right, is this it? And then it cuts to a Gears of War phone game, like called Gears of War Tactics or something like that. And then it goes into Gears of War 5, and it shows this new character, Kate. It shows like all these different enemies, like that new, like they wake up with movement, which I was like, that stealth was never part of Gears of War, but it's probably something that they're going to attack you anyway. And then it's showing controversy between Marcus Phoenix's son, I can't remember his name. Marcus Phoenix is there, and they're going to lead him to some major thing north because he wants to find or Kate wants to find some important thing. I don't know. It's going to be a Gears game. Like, you're going to have the roadie run. You're going to have a cover system. You're going to have chainsaws. You're going to have that. It's coming out in 2019, it said. I don't think it said holiday or 2019 or anything. I think Gears of War games typically release in the October-November area. So I wouldn't doubt it if it's released then. It already had gameplay, so this game is probably close to being, like, ready, quote, but I still need to play Gears of War 4 if I wanted to pay attention to this game at all, because I know Marcus became a side character and his son became a main character, and now his son's bald even though he had blonde hair in the first one. I don't know, in the fourth one. We'll see. Crackdown 3, Terry Crews was a major spotlight. It's showing the same Crackdown, like running fast, jumping high, shooting things with like rocket launchers, and you're genuinely doing destruction, and like Terry Crews is giving this voiceover. It looks like he's going to be the main character or part of a main character dynamic. I mean, I played the first Crackdown. I didn't play the second one. First Crackdown came out in 2007, and it was released with the Halo beta, so like almost everyone and their mother played it then. It's going to be just like hopefully a revival to the series, because I think there was a lot of fans of Crackdown, but I wouldn't doubt it if Microsoft does really well with it and then pushes out a Crackdown 4 and then goes with that. I just hope they don't go with the whole zombie dynamic, because zombies were like just shooting, I think, at the end of the second one, if I was correct. I don't know. Yeah, Terry Crews is also doing really well as far as like the gamer culture goes, because I feel like people love him because of Brooklyn Nine-Nine, and they loved him because he had like PC builds with Jay's 2 cents, and he's just in the environment, so people really enjoy having Terry Crews around. Oh, and that's releasing in February of 2019, so you only have to wait another like 8 months and you'll be able to play it. So on to Anthem. When it released, or when the first trailer was released, I think last E3, under EA and BioWare's making it and all that, it was like, oh, this game looks like Destiny, kind of, but it looks kind of good. But then like EA messed up, or they fucked up Star Wars Battlefront, and they fucked up all this stuff. Like, people just aren't happy with EA. I think EA and Ubisoft are probably the number 1 and number 2 most hated game publishers right now. Especially the things they've done to certain franchises. So Anthem looks like a Destiny clone, pretty much, where you're getting into these suits and you're flying around, and it's an instance world where you go in and you're fighting enemies, and for some reason there will be like shared world hubs, kind of like Destiny, honestly. And I don't know, it looks like it, but they had like weird, just weird style of gameplay, considering like it feels like a Destiny knockoff, honestly. Like you're flying around a little bit. That's something you can't do in Destiny. And you have, I think they might be called javelins, the suits that you wear, but it's I don't know. I'm probably not gonna play it. I'm probably not gonna buy it. I'd wait for reviews, because also there's something that annoys me with EA. They have sullied their name so much that like on Battlefield 5, which I'm going to talk about a little bit down, Anthem, and I think another game, they were basically, it might have been Star Wars Battlefront 2. They were basically like, we're not going to have transaction or microtransactions or loot boxes in this game. It's like, yeah, you fucking shouldn't. Microtransactions have been ruining all their games for years, like ever since they started this shit. It drives me nuts. Like, it's a stupid style. You're literally just encouraging kids to use their parents' credit cards to pay for, I don't know, my plus 99 quarterback in Madden NFL Online, because I want to be the guy that used my credit card to beat the other guy. Like, I hate the style, because you're not paying for a $60 game anymore. You're paying for a $60 game plus all the DLC that comes out that's $20 or $10 a piece, plus every microtransaction that you feel compelled to buy because they give other people advantages and they're using them, so why don't you use them? I don't know. It's fucking annoying. I'm sick of it, but at least they said they're not doing it anymore in these trailers. We'll see. Anthem's on my steer clear list, because I played Destiny 2 and I'm just not into it, but whatever. Let's talk about Dying Light 2. This is made by Techland. It's published by, it was under Microsoft's conference, so it'll probably be on PC and it'll probably be on PS4 too. It takes place 15 years after the first game. I didn't play the first game. I know zombies were a big part in parkour, and then they come out at night, but at night is when you need to, go out and salvage for stuff. It's on my upcoming games to play list. I think there's going to be a sale of it soon, especially with it being announced at E3. I'm going to keep an eye on, Reddit, on the game deal subreddit, to see if I can get my hands on it, and I'll talk about it probably within like the next month. The parkour style reminds me of Mirror's Edge, but the combat style reminds me more of like, I wouldn't say Dead Island, because Dead Island was way too boring and way too slow. And that's also it's just saying it's a zombie game, but like the way you're like swinging around, it almost, I don't know, it looks exciting, and like that's something that catches my attention, because it's in its own universe of being this parkour but zombies, but also this, and I don't know, I'm excited for that. I don't think there was a release date at all, but there was gameplay. It shows you fighting humans. I don't think it really showed the nighttime. It showed them like setting up black lights and stuff like that. And at least in the trailer I saw, but we know there's going to be zombies in it. It's been a major part of the game for a long time. Shadow of the Tomb Raider. This game's coming out really soon. It's coming out in September. I think it's made by Square Enix. It could be. And I know it was under their panel, and it was also under Microsoft's panel. It looks huge. Lara Croft is running around, she's, doing the Tomb Raider thing. But it looks like they also added like stealth elements, like you're taking people down, like The Last of Us. Even though I know I shouldn't be saying that. Like she's like catching people off guard on patrols and stabbing them, and then infiltrating, and then it's coming out really soon, so I don't want to delve into it too much. And I actually, after all this, I'll talk about the upcoming games for next week, but it's on my upcoming game for next week. So once I play that, I'll probably talk about this a little more, because I'll know more of the environment, but right now I feel like I'm just blowing smoke. So Metro Exodus. I don't know the developer for this. It's coming out in February. It had gameplay, so that's a plus. I mean, any game that has a release date is most likely going to have a gameplay at this at E3, unless a certain game that I'll talk about later. yeah, so it had gameplay. There's gun customization, and you're in, what looks like the nuclear world, but like you're not supposed to be outside. Like the whole point of the game was that you were in train tunnels, and then you're in this really messed up um, like a like almost like Fallout, but not. Where you're seeing the dark side of things, where it's like people starving and dying, and then like there's these monsters that come in from they're mutated and all that stuff. The game looks a lot like that. It looks visually, this game looked really, really top notch. Like it was terrifying, but there was also a lot of action. So, like it's gonna be horror, but it's also gonna be action, which is good because I liked Fear. I just played Fear a few weeks ago, and I liked that. I played the first Metro because they gave it away on Steam a while ago, and like I said, it was a lot more dark, and I don't remember it being this actiony, at least from the trailer. Granted, they want to show you, the most fun parts of the game, but I don't know. It's coming out in February. I might hold off until it goes on sale because it's like the Metro series never incredibly pulled me in, but yeah, I'd wait for this one. Another game that bothered me. So Bethesda was the king of this because it had two games that did the same thing, right? It had Skyrim, or not Skyrim. It had The Elder Scrolls 6, and it had Starfield. Starfield was literally, it was like a zoom out of space, and then you see a satellite opening, and then you see a star exploding, and then it says Starfield. That was it. I was like, all right, Bethesda, what the fuck? Like, don't show it if there's nothing important about it. We got no context. It's not like someone came out and was like, Starfield's going to be a game about blah, 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 blah. No, there was zero detail on this game. So why even show it? Like, I understand you want to generate hype, but you literally showed a star exploding. That could be a Star Wars game. That could be it could literally be a game that's not even about space. It's just showing some space thing. I don't know. Like it could be on Earth, but like that explosion causes stuff. I hate this style of teaser because it showed nothing. It didn't show like the Master Chief with Halo Infinite thing. It showed zero, nothing. And they literally said, they were like, well, these are going to be things that we're going to be developing, but they're not going to be coming out for a while. So yet again, I wouldn't doubt it if this game's not out till 2020, 2021, that area. It's, it was just there to be there. They wanted people to pay attention to Bethesda, so they had Fallout 76, which I'm going to be talking about, and then these two things, Elder Scrolls 6 and Starfield, and neither of them showed anything. So on to Kingdom Hearts 3. If you listen to the first episode of this podcast, Kingdom Hearts has a bit of a rocky history with me. I thought it was button mashy. I thought the voice acting was cringy. I didn't really care about the characters. I cared about the worlds. Like I like Disney worlds, and I like seeing Hercules and all that stuff. And I played it as a kid, and I remember hating the Tarzan level, and I hated the Alice in Wonderland level, which were like the two first levels they threw at you. So yeah, no, it wasn't very interesting to me, and I tried playing it a month ago, and it still wasn't interesting to me. I have the collection still, so I'll still probably play it, but regardless of that. So, Kingdom Hearts 3. I'm more interested because it looks like there's a lot more combat mechanics to it. I understand that like the more you play Kingdom Hearts, the more you unlock, the more abilities you can do. You get a dodge roll, you do whatever. I had that rant to me already from a certain past podcast. But this showed like the Monsters Inc. world, and it showed Frozen, and it showed Olaf and Elsa and all that, and then it jumped to showing like a Lion King ultimate, whatever you want to call it, attack from Sora, and then it showed Tangled, and then on another world it showed Toy Story, and it's showing all these worlds, and I'm like, okay, these are the worlds I care about. Like I didn't really care about Tarzan. I didn't care about Alice in Wonderland. I liked the Lion King. I liked some of it, but the old Disney movies start to lose my interest. But this, like, Monsters Inc. is my favorite Disney movie. Yeah, I think just based on the worlds alone, I'll be more interested in it. And it's coming out in January, so it's like another 8 months, and then right after Christmas, and you'll be able to play it. It's coming out with like a special PS4 too, PS4 Pro. It's got like engraved stuff on it, and yeah. I'd say you buy it for sure. They were kind of, I guess the term would be, whoring it out at E3 because it was in like 3 different conferences. It was in Square Enix's conference, it was in Microsoft's conference, and I think it was also in Sony's conference. So that just shows you like they wanted this game to be seen. Yeah. I mean, people have been asking for it since Kingdom Hearts 2 in 2005, 2003. I don't remember. It's been a long time since Kingdom Hearts 2 came out. So I know it'll satisfy all the fanboys. And then also one I wanted to bring up is that I hate the voice acting in Kingdom Hearts. Like that's why I wanted to skip the cutscenes in that first podcast. That's why I didn't want to listen to the characters, because Sora's voice acting and just the characters in general were just like cringy to me, and like I don't know. So even in this trailer, I know it's a Japanese thing or whatever, but he's like, Roxas's heart is in my heart. Like he like just the way he like said it, I was like, God, it still has it in here. Like I don't care, and it feels so weird. Like it feels cringy, and Twilight Town was like that guy wasn't as bad, but Sora I can't stand. So like I don't know. The voice acting bothered me a lot, but whatever. It's got Disney characters. They got voice lines, and it looks like they get the original people that do the voice lines. Like Kristen Bell's probably playing Anna. Josh Gad, I think his name is probably playing Olaf. That kind of stuff. Devil May Cry 5. It's following Nero. It's from Capcom still. It's following Nero. Dante made an appearance at the end of it. It's just like a trailer just showing like Nero driving along. He cut his hair. He still has his devil arm, but it looks like he can remove his devil arm and replace it with different things that give him different abilities, which is cool. Because I remember in Devil May Cry 4 there was a combo you could spam. It was pretty much like XXB or something. You would do the devil lift where you would like lift them up in the air, and then XX, and pretty much everything died from that. Or you could gun them down while they were in the air. I don't know. So the new arm should hopefully give some variety to that. And I liked Nero as a character, so that's also a plus. And then Dante makes an appearance, so that'll satisfy everyone. And yeah, I mean, there's not much to talk about there. It's a Devil May Cry game. If you played Devil May Cry game before, you'll probably like it. I didn't like Devil May Cry that came out in 2013, where Dante had like brown hair, and he was like early Dante. Like I didn't really like that one at all. So hopefully this is like with the Nero comeback, I'll like it more. Battlefield 5. So we're gonna have 2 EA games in a row. So Battlefield 5 is made by DICE. It's coming out in I think October of this year, but I could be wrong. Lots of destruction, it's just showing like the general, like that's always been Battlefield's thing, is that you could just level the land if you wanted to. Showing artillery weapons and all that stuff, and I don't know. I'm probably not gonna play it. Like I wanted to get excited for it, but I don't think I've ever actually enjoyed a Battlefield game. I tried Battlefield 3, didn't really like it. Tried Battlefield 4, didn't really like it. Tried Battlefield, the one with the cops and robbers and all that, didn't really like that one either. It's just, I don't know, this and Call of Duty I feel like have fallen out of favor for me. They'll still sell like hotcakes, but who cares? Also it'll have Battle Royale, but I think it'll have vehicles and all that, and if it has vehicles, I'm out for sure. I know Battle Royale mode is going to be touted in like every game coming out because Fortnite's doing so well, PUBG did so well. Realm Royale's also picking up steam, but I'm just, the whole entire Battle Royale scheme and Battlefield bothers me because I don't want tanks, I don't want helicopters, I don't want this. I want gunplay, I want fights. Yeah. So this one also kind of bothered me a little bit because I feel like this is not the way you do a trailer or a reveal at all. Respawn, who made Titanfall, is coordinating with EA. They made a game, or they're making a game called Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order, I think, like the same way that Star Wars Jedi Knight and stuff like that. It's not slated to be out for at least another year and a half, I think. I think they said December of 2019 or holiday of 2019, something like that. There was no gameplay, nothing. I don't even think there was really a trailer or anything. It just was a guy talking in the crowd about it. And the whole context is that you're a Padawan that survived Order 66, and then you're just like having a comeback story, and then all this stuff. It'll kind of be like Force Unleashed, I'm guessing, as far as like that side story where it's like Vader had an apprentice, but yeah, nothing was revealed, nothing was shown. This pisses me off the same way that Starfield and Elder Scrolls 6 pissed me off. Like, you mention it, but then nothing comes out about it, and we don't hear about it until next E3. So why mention it? CyberPunk 2077. It's made by CD Projekt Red. Microsoft had like this big thing. They like closed out their show with it. It was like, oh, look at this glitch in the system. Oh, show the E3 trailer. Oh, it looks like Detroit with like slums, but then it shows like really high tech city, like a New York City style where it's like skyscrapers and all that, and like it's the guy driving and he's like, I'm a killer, and it shows people customizing their face with like robotics style not armaments but augments, and it's showing all this, and I'm like, this is cool. Kind of reminds me of like Ready Player One. Kind of reminds me of that style where it's like the slums, but like people are still around, and it's not like they're dying. It's just they're there, and it shows like the main character. I have no idea what his name is. I don't really care about this universe. Apparently, there's like a backstory behind it. I didn't know that. I don't know. I'm gonna play it probably when it comes out, but I don't think they released anything close to a release date. They released no gameplay at all. Yeah. CD Projekt Red fans will go nuts for this game, but it's just there. It's Cyberpunk 2077. Woohoo. On to Death Stranding. I'm gonna skip Beyond Good and Evil 2, because honestly, it showed some gameplay in like a alpha state. It showed Jade and it showed Paige, but I don't know. I'm Beyond Good and Evil. I have to go back and play the first one because I played it a long time ago on original Xbox, and I don't remember anything from it except Paige the pig, Jade. I don't remember the ape-looking thing's name, but it's been a long time. So we'll go to Death Stranding. Norman Reedus is the main character in this game. It's been touted for, I think, 2 years. Like, at first, they only showed Norman Reedus, like, holding a baby and crying naked in, like, the middle of some, like, swamp area where it's always raining for some reason. And then, like, the second trailer they showed, eventually it was, like, him with a baby in his throat and, like, people dying to invisible forces. They're, like, getting sucked into this, like, black muck. So this one actually looked like it showed gameplay, but it looked like it was, like, climbing simulator, 2019, whenever this game's coming out. They didn't release any release date. They showed, like I said, the gameplay, but, like, I still don't know what's going on with this game. People are trying to theorize it, but I'm like, I don't even think if you played this game 5 times through, you would understand what's going on in this game. Like, Kojima does this all the time. Like, now he's doing this again. I think Guillermo del Toro still has involvement in this game because they canceled Silent Hills, and Silent Hills was also confusing, just judging from the trailer that was coming out. But, like, the whole thing is, like, he can die, but the baby in his throat can keep him alive, and he can, like, monitor the baby by, like, showing his pregnant stomach in, like, this tube. And then, like, some woman shows up. She looked familiar. I don't know what she's from. She eats a worm that's, like, a baby. And then the trailer cuts, and then it shows him, like, climbing with a thing on his bag, and it shows invisible things, and then when he uses a special light thing, it's, like, showing these black figures in the sky. I don't know. I don't understand this game. It's... we'll see. Like, no release date. Gameplay was there, but... yeah, I think it's going to be a while before that's shown, and it's been touted, like I said, for, I think, 3 years at this point. Assassin's Creed Odyssey, I'm just going to talk about real fast because it looked like Assassin's Creed. It's made by Ubisoft. It's coming out in October. The whole difference is that you play as a female or male character for the most of the game. Also, it takes place in Greece. The environment looked fulfilling. Like, it reminded me of that Ghost of Tsushima game where there's a lot of color and a lot of vividness to it. You're, like, jumping off of towers as a Spartan and then slicing down and fighting people. A lot of characters. It looks like they might have abandoned the stuff with the Animus because I feel like they never did that. They might have done that in the past Assassin's Creed games. I haven't played an Assassin's Creed game since Brotherhood. So yeah, I You might also be able to fight wildlife, because at one point it shows like a bear running at you, which I was like, don't you already do this with Far Cry? Yeah. Well, it looks exciting, but it's an Assassin's Creed game. If you played it, whatever. So this one was a surprise. Resident Evil 2. It's not like Resident Evil 2 remastered. It's not like Resident Evil 2 on Nintendo Switch. It's Resident Evil 2 remade. It's made by Capcom, same people that made it originally. Release date confirmed for January. I don't think it showed any gameplay from what the trailer showed, but it showed like Claire and Leon, and it showed like a zombie tearing a dude's throat out, and then Leon shoots him, and Leon's really young, and he's like, oh my god. Yeah, it looked really cool. Like, I don't know. It reminded me of the Resident Evil 7 style, but I don't know if it's going to be first person or not. It might be third person, it might be first person. Regardless, I'm going to play it because I think they killed it with Resident Evil 7. And yeah, I'm excited for the style, and I'm excited for them to take, instead of just remastering Resident Evil 1 for the third time, like that game was on PS1, then it was on GameCube, then it was on, I think it was on Wii, and I think it might be on PC now too. Like, they remastered a lot of them a lot of the time. So yeah, it's been all over the place. So yeah, Resident Evil 2 remade, I'm excited. That was probably one of my top games of the show. Like, the farther we get down, the more excited I am. Granted, we only have 4 games left, but whatever. So Forza Horizon 4 takes place in Britain. Shows the cars. You're driving through snow, and then you're driving through like the outback, and then like it shows you like on dirt bikes, and then an airboat comes in, and then it's showing co-op, and it's showing a whole bunch of different cars and different things. Like, it reminds me of Forza Horizon 3, where it's not as much of a simulation as opposed to like a Need for Speed Most Wanted, where you're free roaming and you're finding things to do around the map and you're doing cool stuff. But Forza Horizon 3, I think, was in Australia, because I remember the whole style of that game. I liked Forza Horizon 3 a lot. I think there might be a new engine, but Microsoft, I don't know. Microsoft bought Playground Games, so they already made Forza games exclusively for Xbox and Windows 10, so this just further confirms they're going to be making Forza games forever. And Horizon is more on the casual side of it, whereas Motorsport is more on the like simulation, like driving around the tracks and stuff like that. So I'm excited. They always had a good soundtrack in that game. Like, that was something I complained about with the crew, is that like the soundtrack was terrible, and like the world environment looked like terrible compared to Forza Horizon 3, and yeah. So last 3 games of the show. Let's talk about Spider-Man first. It's made by Insomniac, produced by Sony. I think it's a PS4 exclusive. Spider-Man looks to be older. I could be wrong, but it looks like a more experienced Spider-Man. He knows what he's doing. Shows the free roam, which I absolutely love. It reminds me of Spider-Man 2, where you're like going around the city and you're just web slinging, you're jumping over fire escapes, you're doing all this stuff. But then it also shows like you're trying to save a reporter from a helicopter, because you're going to this area where a bunch of the villains are, and the fighting style is great. Like, you can jump between like different web modes and stuff like that. It looks fantastic as far as like the fluidity of the gameplay and like the fighting system. It looks so great, and it reminds me so much of Spider-Man 2 that was on GameCube and all that. One of the most appreciated I'd say movie games of all time, and especially like a free roam open world, the way they had it. Yeah, and then also, you think like a Spider-Man game, typically they have like 1 or 2 villains, right? Like the original Spider-Man on N64, I think it had Scorpion, but then it also had Venom, and it also had Carnage at the end. Like, it only shows a few. This one is like confirmed. Like, it shows Rhino, it shows Scorpion, it shows Electro, it shows Mr. Negative. I'm probably missing Vulture's in there, and then like at the end, like of the trailer, it's like zooming out, and then you see Spider-Man looking up, and then he's like, you, and it's like, is it going to be another enemy? I don't know. So they're basically essentially showing the Sinister Six, which was a big deal. Granted, like, I don't think Mysterio was in there, and I think Kraven the Hunter was also part of the original Sinister Six, but I'm excited. That it's coming out in September. Like, this is coming out within the next 3 months, I think, to the day. I can't be more excited for this game. I'm so excited for Spider-Man. Yeah. So then Fallout 76. This got leaked by Walmart, I think. They leaked it in a flyer with a bunch of other stuff. So it's made by Bethesda, obviously. It's coming out in November, which is great. And it showed gameplay, which is also great. So it's a multiplayer game, a multiplayer style game, but you could also play it single player. They confirmed that a million times. They're like, yeah, it's going to be multiplayer, but you could also play it single player. You can play it alone if you want to. It's going to have online maps, which reminded me of H1Z1 Just Survive, like that style, or DayZ, where you're always on and there's a lot of base building and then all that stuff. But then they're like, yeah, you can nuke the entire map. We're going to give you the ability to get these codes and nuke the entire map, which I feel like would be frustrating, but it compels you to play the game more because you want to control the map. And yeah, I honestly, I feel like I'd just play it single player and I'd enjoy it, but I'd also play it with friends and I'd enjoy that too. That's fine. Also, it looks huge. I don't think they said it, but I think it was twice the size of Fallout 4, but I could be wrong. It's also based in West Virginia, and it takes place before all the other Fallouts, and you were in a vault that was meant to open, Reclamation Day, you're supposed to reclaim the Earth. It was meant to open. So that's, I enjoy the base building. I always wanted to play Fallout with my friends. It wins me in that department. It looks honestly like Fallout 4. It's probably the same exact engine. Yeah, and some of the new monsters look terrifying. There was a bat that was able to breathe fire and stuff like that. Yeah, I'm excited for that. It's top 5 for most games on this list. And finally, let me just look at this. We've been talking for almost an hour. Finally, The Last of Us 2. Let me just drink before this because I'm going to be talking for a little while. The Last of Us 2. I have waited so long for this game. I remember 5 years ago, almost to the day. I could be wrong, but I feel like The Last of Us, the original, came out in June 4th, 2013. I remember going immediately after school, because I was going to a tech school, going immediately after school, borrowing my uncle's PS4, putting in The Last of Us, and I binged it, and I kept playing it, and I kept playing it. I played through it 3 times in the first week that I owned it. This game has changed my outlook on life. You play as Joel and Ellie. This trailer is more focused on Ellie, and you've only seen glimpses of Joel, from the original trailer that they showed at E3 last year or the year before. Because last year they showed the trailer with, they haven't said her name's Anna, but her name's Anna, and it's probably Ellie's mom from last year. But yeah, this trailer focused more on Ellie. And Joel's briefly mentioned, it's oh, your dad was bothering me about my patrol routes, and it shows characters, and it gets more in depth on Ellie as a character, and more what she's done since the whole ending of the first Last of Us. And just a spoiler for, not a spoiler of the game, but just a spoiler for next week. I'm gonna be talking about The Last of Us next week. I've been playing through it a lot lately. I need to have all my thoughts on a game like this before I can get into The Last of Us 2 when we finally receive a release date and stuff like that. So more about The Last of Us 2, right? So yeah, they brought out Gustavo Santanella or something. I forget what his name is. He did the original soundtrack. He's done the soundtrack for a bunch of things. I'm trying to think of the movie he did a soundtrack for. Oh, he did the soundtrack for Making a Murderer. He's won Oscars for movies. I think he did Babel in 2006 or something like that. He's a very, very, very talented composer, musician, whatever you want to call him. And on top of that, he uses weird styles where he'll use a PVC pipe and it'll blow into it and it sounds like a flute, but then he combines it with a banjo and then combines it with guitar or something, and it sounds fantastic, right? So with that whole out of the way, they bring him out, he's playing a banjo, and you're I instantly knew, when they said Gustavo Santaolalla, I was because it was the first thing on the PS3 showcase. Like they brought out the main guy behind PS3. Behind Sony. I can't remember his name. Mark something, I think, or Peter something. They bring him out and he starts talking, and then he keeps talking. He's like, "We're gonna be doing it a little different tonight, whatever." And then he's finally like, "Gustavo Centinela," and like I felt my heart jump. I was like, "Oh my god, they're gonna open with The Last of Us 2. Are you kidding me?" Like, oh my god. So then he plays banjo for like probably like 4 minutes, and then he finishes, and then the crowd claps, and they're like, "Okay, that was weird," because some people probably didn't know who he was. I'm a nerd. I'm a fanboy. I know who he is. So then it loads up and is playing with the song, and I see Sony Interactive Entertainment. I was like, okay, that's typical. And then it says Naughty Dog, and I was like, and I felt my throat choke up immediately. Because I was like, this isn't happening. Like, I knew it was coming. I thought they would throw it at the end because you want to close on a really strong game. Granted, they closed on the Spider-Man. But yeah, they showed that, and I was like, oh no. So they started the trailer. It shows Ellie. It shows her interacting at a bar with different people. Character named Dina. Character named Jesse. And it shows her like dancing with him, and then the girl Dina is saying like men should be terrified of you, Ellie. Like you're a very powerful woman is basically what she's insinuating, whatever. So at this point, I'm like bawling because I'm like, oh my god, I'm finally seeing the game that I've been waiting for 5 years. Like I was a much younger Steve when this game came out. So I'm sitting here, I'm watching it. So then it goes and it cuts like behind her head, right? Like it says like they should be terrified of you. And then she kisses Dina. Ellie and her have a kiss, and then it's always a little weird in video games when anyone has a kissing scene because I think that's a weird thing to render, and they always gotta add the sound and all that. Whatever, it doesn't really matter because honestly, it's something that was introduced in the game in The Last of Us Left Behind. Like Ellie is a lesbian, that's fine. Yeah, like why would anyone have a problem with that? Whatever. But I saw people complaining that they were showing her sexuality in this trailer, which was whatever. So then it cuts behind her head. And then it's like in a forest and she's immediately stabbing a guy in the throat. And like a lot of people don't notice this. She's wearing the same bracelet that Dina, her friend, was wearing earlier in the trailer from like the dance scene. Like she's wearing this bracelet that Dina was wearing. And I immediately was like, like I didn't see it at first, so then I watched the trailer another 5 times today because this trailer just came out last night. I watched it another 5 times today, and I was like trying to catch on things, and I was like, she's wearing the bracelet. Like that's the bracelet from earlier. So yeah, it shows her. It cuts to her. She's stabbing this guy in the throat. Guy will not die, and then he finally does. So then she's stealthing, and immediately I'm looking at the game. I'm like, all right, there's a different type of stealth meter. Because on the bottom, it shows like this gray thing, and then like it'll point gray towards the area that the guy's looking at you at, but you're not in listening mode because you used to have to hold R2 for listening mode, and then it would show you like the outlines of enemies or anything like that. It was disabled in grounded mode, but whatever. So yeah, it shows like all this different stuff, and I'm looking and I'm like, okay, this is different. Like, yeah, like I'm liking this, and it's showing them publicly executing, not publicly because it's The Last of Us, it's not like an overpopulated area, but they're executing someone, and it looks like they're a religious cult, and it turns out they're called the Seraphites or something like that. Yeah, and that was something that had to do with the trailer that came out at PSX or E3 with Ellie's mom. Quote, who knows, it might be her mom, it's most likely her mom. That's something that showed with that. So yeah, Ellie comes up, there's like a whistle, and then they know Ellie's in the area for some reason because they communicate, and then yeah, so then it goes into the stealth mode. She's stealthing, she's using a bow and arrow, she's killing people, she messes it up. Finally the action starts, and like this whole time I'm watching it, I'm like, oh my god, they changed everything. Like not like they changed like the style of the game. I mean, like you're playing as Ellie, you're encountering enemies, like you have the switchblade, you don't have to worry about shivs, like you don't choke people, she didn't choke anyone in the trailer. You're using a bow and arrow primarily, and you're using a pistol and all this stuff. So I'm like I'm still like emotionally devastated watching this, but I keep watching it. So then it gets to a point where she gets encountered by 2 enemies because she messes it up, and then so she kills one of them with a bow and arrow. And then the other one rushes her, and like immediately she dodges. Like she dodges. That's something I was like, is that scripted? Like I don't remember that in The Last of Us, the first game. Like she like physically moves her body. So it turns out there's a new dodge mechanic in this game. Like there's gonna be a button you could press, and it'll be a big part of like the melee battles where you'll be able to dodge when things pop up like that. And then also, let me just get this open. Also, there's gonna be a communication system, because during the trailer, when she's fighting another enemy, it shows like the character goes Ethan, and that's the name of one of the guys that you kill, and then she's like, oh my god, Ethan, like all that stuff. So that's also kind of cool. There's stealth in tall grass now, which I've never seen in The Last of Us. I think it was in Uncharted 4. It's in Horizon Zero Dawn. So when she gets encountered by these enemies, like during the battle, she uses the dodge mechanic, and she fights people with her switchblade, and then she gets a hammer and she executes this guy the same way that her mother kind of did in the second trailer. Maybe it's her mom. I know I keep saying it's her mom. It's probably her mom. So yeah, it shows that she executes the guy. She runs into tall grass. She stealths. She climbs under a car, which is something you could never do before. So she physically climbs into her car. You see the enemies walk towards her. You see their feet. Then her lady pokes her head in. Ellie blows the chick's brains out. She gets pulled out from underneath the car. She fights this guy, you're massing X, whatever. And then while she's on the ground, she's able to gun him down. So that's something new too. Like there was never that ability before where like you get knocked down and you have to gun someone before you can get back up or stop them from killing you, whatever. So then she runs and she jumps. I thought, because I played The Last of Us, I thought she just hit X, because you could do that. You could just hit X to jump. It turns out there's actually going to be a jump feature in the game. It's going to show, I'm getting way too into this, but I'm sorry. It's like my favorite game of all time. I've been waiting a long time. So yeah, there's going to be a jump feature. She jumps, and then you watch, there's an enemy ahead of her. She's out of bullets. Like, Ellie's out of bullets. She has no arrows. I think she might have, like, materials or whatever, but she's in the middle of a combat sequence. So you see an enemy coming towards her, and she's aiming at her. Ellie, in one motion, grabs a bottle, throws it at the enemy, bashes it over her head, runs up, grabs her, and then immediately the chick gets shot in the chest by her I don't know what you would call her crony, her accomplice. She gets shot, and Ellie's like, oh, fuck this. Pieces out, runs into this building. Bunch of people come in. More battling mechanics. You're seeing a lot more of a brutal side, because like Ellie, like she's damaged by an arrow, so she like literally physically removes the arrow from her, yeah. So then it continues. She fights one. She crafts explosive arrows. That was huge. I was like, oh, there's different ammo types now. Like, yes, and like they explode into like a million different pieces. And then it shows her fighting this guy. He looks like a brute. He had a big hammer. She fights him, and then in the middle of that, you use the dodge mechanic. You dodge an arrow. Then you cut this girl down with a machete. Then you fight the brute guy. You shoot the brute guy with a bunch of arrows. He's on his feet. Ellie cuts his head off, and then it cuts to the end of the trailer, and then it shows like Ellie in the kissing scene after with Dina was her name. And then it's like, I told you. They should be very terrified of you. And then Ellie smiles, and that's the trailer. Cue me, like, having a mental breakdown. Like, I'm just sitting here, and I'm like, how do I process the information that finally came to me? Like, I was so on edge for that entire trailer, because I was like, okay, is Joel going to show up? He was mentioned. Is he going to show up? I was expecting her to zoom out, and then, like, at the end of that trailer, and then Joel would just be standing there, like, hey, like with his voice. So yeah, it looks like The Last of Us, but you're playing as Ellie. You're playing as an older Ellie. She's 19 now. She's not 14 anymore. The combat looks a lot better as far as like melee goes, because melee in the first game, it was like choke people out, bash their head in with a brick, throw bricks at them or throw bottles at them, use a machete or a baseball bat and just mash square. Whereas now they've added a dodge mechanic, and they've added, like the listening mode option is no longer necessary as far as like the stealth goes, which is nice. yeah, they added a whole bunch of stuff that makes the game, it looks like quality of life changes almost, but I feel like it's also going to change the dynamic of the game, but it's going to keep it The Last of Us, and it's very exciting. So you think with like a 10-minute gameplay trailer, I was like, they're going to have a release date. They're going to have a release date. I know I've shit on multiple trailers for this. Like, I shit on a bunch of people at E3 for this. They didn't have a fucking release date. And I know they're still trying to finish it. And I think Neil Druckmann said today, he basically said, he was like, yeah, it's going to be a little while before we release a release date. Maybe they release one at PSX, which I think is in December. I wouldn't doubt it if this comes out within the next year, but not in 2018. Like, I wouldn't doubt it if it's like mid-2019 that this game comes out. Yeah, I couldn't think about this game for a little while. Granted, it's only been 24 hours, but I couldn't think about it without being like, holy shit. It physically made me like shake. Like, I was like, oh my God, like, did that just really happen? Like, so I watched the trailer like 6 times. I've gone way too into it. I did the same thing when she played the guitar in the second trailer and she sang Through the Valley by Sean James or whatever his name was. I am a super fanboy of this series. This game can do no wrong. I told my friends they could release The Last of Us Part 2, but it could be the same game as the first game, just like different environments and the same style and all that, and I would say it's game of the year. Like, oh my God, I was so happy watching this trailer. It helped that I was in the middle of playing through Grounded mode on my PS4, so it's like I still have The Last of Us like in my spirit. So the only questions that remain from that are release date, what's happening with Joel? Is he going to be a playable character? Yeah, those are my 2 big questions. Also, what's going on with Anna, Ellie's mom? They haven't said her name's Anna, but it's played by Laura Bailey. It's a 4-letter first name that was confirmed. It's probably Anna. All right. So that was all the games that were reviewed. To give like an overall perspective, I would say the winners as far as conferences go, Microsoft was up there. Because I at first I was like, Microsoft didn't have anything. And I thought about it and I looked through this list and I was like, okay, they had a lot. Like, they had Halo, they had Gears, they had Session, which I was super excited for. They had Sekiro, they had all this stuff. They eventually had Forza Horizon 4, I was like really excited for. They had CyberPunk, but I don't think that was technically them. That was CD Projekt Red, whatever. Doesn't matter. So I would say they were number 1 tied in my head. Like, they're a 1-0. So they're a number 2, but they're technically, yeah. And then number 2 for me is Sony. And I know that's my fanboyism coming out because I love The Last of Us. I love Spider-Man. Like, those 2 games, I was like, all right, I'm sold. Like, I kind of took a shit on Death Stranding a little bit because I wasn't too enthused by it. But they still have Ghost of Tsushima, who's made by Sucker Punch. I'm still excited for that. There's a good mix of games coming from Sony, but they took a different approach to their conference, so they have to be stunted a little bit for that. Like, they kept going to like music breaks or whatever. It was weird, but I mean, you showed 12 minutes of The Last of Us, and I couldn't be happier. I was like, all right, they won. Like, and then they showed 8 minutes of Spider-Man, and I was like, they won again. Like, all right. And then I would say Nintendo did really well. The only problem with Nintendo is they didn't show new games too much as games that we already kind of knew about, or like games that were making it a new approach to the Switch. Like, they showed a cut to Dark Souls Remastered and a bunch of other games. They showed like a super cut. But they also showed like Fortnite coming to Switch and, you know, that kind of stuff. But then they had a new Super Mario Party confirmed. They had Smash Bros. Confirmed yet again, but with like a roster and all that. Yeah, Nintendo won for the Nintendo fan. Oh, did I talk about Pokemon? Did I skip over Pokemon? I think I might have skipped over Pokemon. If I skipped over Pokemon, I apologize. It looks like Pokemon, but casual. Like, it's integrated with Pokemon Go, special controller, no battles. Bothers me a little bit, but I'll still get it. Because you can play with your friends, so I'd probably try and get my girlfriend to play with me and be like, come catch Pokemon with me. Yeah. So they had Pokemon Let's Go too, and then they also had I think Xenoblade Chronicles and stuff like that were mixed in, and people are fans of that. So, you know, Nintendo won in their own right, but they didn't show anything new, which kind of, it made me a little skeptical. And then I would say losers. There's two definite losers in my eyes. Square Enix, it was Kingdom Hearts 3, and then everything else could have been under a different publisher. Like, it didn't matter. That kind of bothered me a lot. EA bothered me a lot with the whole showing Jedi Last Order thing. Showing, like, Jedi Last Order, but not showing anything. And they kept having to go back to the, we're not going to do microtransactions. Huh. And, like, I just can't give a shit. And then they still haven't done Skate 4. I'm always going to stunt them for that. Anthem looks like a Destiny 2 knockoff. EA didn't do well. I don't think EA ever really does well, but maybe that's just me. And then Bethesda's in the middle because, like, they showed Fallout 76, but they, like, did we really, and, like, they showed Doom Eternal, and but then they're like, oh, it's at QuakeCon. And then they showed Elder Scrolls 6, but it's like, it's nothing. And then they showed Starfield, and it's like, it's nothing. So Bethesda's not really winning any, and then Rage 2 I couldn't give a shit about. So I was like, Bethesda's not really winning at all, but they, like, Fallout 76 is going to get a lot of hype. People are going to be hyped for Skyrim, so it's in the middle. I don't know. And then the only one I didn't mention past that was Ubisoft, and it's Ubisoft. Like, they rehash the same games for me, in my eyes, but yeah. So to close it out, next week's going to be a normal show. It's probably just going to be me. I don't think I'm going to have anyone on the show. We'll have people on the show the week after, though. So the week of the 23rd, it's just going to be me. But the week after, I'm going to do like a mega podcast because I'm going to have a bunch of people here. Probably going to have 6 people again, maybe 4 people. We'll see. Try and keep it shorter. Yeah, that'll be later in the month. Next week's games are going to be The Last of Us, obviously, 2013. Zelda Breath of the Wild on Switch. Bloodborne on PS4. That's also from 2015. Tomb Raider from 2013, not like Tomb Raider Underworld or any of that. Tomb Raider from 2013. And then Silent Hill 2. I wanted to get more on the horror train, especially after like seeing the amount of games that I was excited for that were horror games, like Dying Light 2 and Metro Exodus and stuff like that. I wanted to get more of the horror feel back in here, especially considering I feel like I touch on one every week with like Fear and all that. Yeah, so those are going to be the games next week. Past that, this podcast has ran a little bit too long. Might be cutting over just an hour. So if you want to ask any questions, if you want to suggest any games for me to play in the future, if you want to do anything of that nature, I said nature twice, or if you want to contact me on Twitter, our email is gamingreversalpodcast@gmail.com. Our Twitter is gr_podcast on Twitter. We're on Google Play and iTunes. We're Gaming Reversal on YouTube. We're gamingreversal.com. We're gamingreversal.libsyn.com. You can find us anywhere. We can stream there. And then to close out the show, I just wanted to say we had the most downloads of any episode we've had so far. It's only been a month, but most downloads of any episode on the last episode. We got like something like a little over like 50 or 60 downloads, and I really appreciate everyone listening to it. Like, it's only been a month of this, but I have a lot of fun. I enjoy talking about these games. I'm really passionate about certain games, some more than others. Some might take a shit on, some I enjoy thoroughly. And it really means a lot that people want to listen to it. So, you know, if you want to suggest anything or anything like that, give us a contact on Twitter or Gmail. And past that, this has been episode 4 of Gaming Reversal, and I was your host, Stephen Vecchiarelli. Catch us next week. Goodbye.